These are some of the largest bergs in the world. The top 10 largest iceberg separations are listed here. Number 10. Iceberg A68, the 6th largest iceberg in the world. Measuring 2,239 square miles, broke free from Antarctica's enormous Larsen Sea shelf in 2017. Although the iceberg didn't travel very far, landing in the Weddell Sea on the east coast of Antarctica, it had only traveled 27 miles from its original location. It was the largest iceberg ever to break free from the ice shelf. Number 9. Ice Island. The ice island of Greenland and the ice sheet in Greenland is connected to the ocean by the Petermann Glacier. When a sizable iceberg floated free on August 5, 2010. Experts from all around the world took notice. The iceberg, often known as the Ice Island, had a size of 97 square miles when it originally broke away from the glacier. It was so huge that it made up about a fifth of the bulk of the glacier. Additionally, it moved swiftly. After traveling more than 1,800 miles, Ice Island is currently being tracked by the Canadian Ice Service. Given its size, the iceberg is melting and breaking apart. But if it heads towards Newfoundland, it may seriously disrupt shipping lines and offshore oil platforms. Number 8. Iceberg B17B. The superberg, also known as Iceberg B17B, broke off from the Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica in 2000. And its enormous size and course presented a distinct and serious hazard. The iceberg, which was 87 square miles in size and one of the largest to have threatened Australia's shores, was seen drifting towards the southwest coast of Australia, where scientists shudder to think what would happen if the iceberg collided with the shoreline. If it had hit the coast of Australia, it would have caused a massive earthquake with an estimated magnitude of 3 to 4. The iceberg was so big that it could have also caused massive problems for shipping lanes in the Pacific Ocean if it had landed in an inconvenient place. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Tech Cargo with notifications on so you don't miss any of our videos. Number 7. Iceberg B31. Iceberg B31 is so large that NASA's Terra and Aqua satellites have tracked it since its separation. Scientists believe that the big berg will likely end up in the Antarctic Ocean. But since the iceberg has been thinning ever since its separation, some scientists doubt this. Iceberg B31 is huge at 20 miles long and 12 miles wide, covers a tremendous 255 square miles, and is an astounding 1640 feet thick. Number 6. Iceberg A38. This enormous iceberg, which was 90 miles long and 30 miles wide and covered an area of 4,488 square miles, broke free from an ice shelf in Antarctica. At the time, it was the largest iceberg to be seen in more than a decade, which raised concerns about its final destination. However, in April 2004, the iceberg abruptly split in half, with the eastern half taking off and moving north. Number 5. Ice shelf separation. Ice shelf separation. Although there are several significant cracks or fissures in Antarctica, and although this iceberg has not yet separated, it will soon. And as a result, it deserves attention. Brunt Ice Shelf, whose Halloween crack is the biggest and most noticeable. This ice shelf is currently being watched. In fact, it is the most watched ice shelf in all of Antarctica, having grown more than 650 feet in just 1 month. This crack is alarmingly enlarging. The shelf has been solid for more than 3 decades. But the enormous cracks and their subsequent expansion are also concerns for concern. Should this iceberg break free, it will be a giant 660 square miles, as a clear indicator of global warming. Scientists are pointing to this prospective iceberg. If this iceberg does break free, it will be the largest one to separate in more than a century. Since 1992, Antarctica has shed more than 3.3 trillion tons of ice. Number 4. Iceberg B15. The largest known iceberg, known as B15, broke off from the Ross Ice Shelf in Antarctica in March 2000. It has changed the geography of Antarctica. It eventually broke into several smaller icebergs, but one of them remained very large. This iceberg was named the B15A. And in January 2001, researchers installed global positioning system instruments on the Iceberg B15 to track its movement. to B15 iceberg was an astounding 183 miles long and 23 miles wide, covering a surface area of 4,200 square miles. Iceberg B15A was the first iceberg to be monitored in this manner, and researchers were able to learn more about how icebergs move through the oceans as a result. Researchers were not surprised when the iceberg collided with the Drygonski ice tongue. In April 2015, this collision broke off such a large section of the ice tongue at 3.1 square miles that it changed the geographic scope of Antarctica, and as a result, new maps of Antarctic. Number 3. The tallest iceberg. The tallest iceberg in the world was first discovered in 1957 in Melville Bay, Greenland, by the icebreaker ship USCGC Eastwind, which was operating in the North Atlantic. This behemoth bird jutted out of the water at an unbelievable height of 550 feet, and to understand its height, it has been compared to the Washington Monument because it is roughly the same height. Scientists are unsure of the iceberg's origin, but it is still holding on to its tallest iceberg currently known or discovered. Number 2. The Wilhelm Glacier iceberg. In 2018, the iceberg breaking away was captured on camera for the first time. NYU scientists David and Dennis Holland captured video of the iceberg breaking off from the Wilhelm Glacier in Greenland. Although this iceberg is not the largest on record, it is incredibly rare to capture an iceberg splitting from its glacier on film. Greenland's ice shelf has been retreating at an alarming rate, losing much of its overall mass between 2002 and 2016. Moreover, the iceberg depicted in the video represents 3% of Greenland's yearly ice loss, making it unsettling to see that much ice disappear in such a short period of time. The video was shot on June 22, 2018, and it depicts one large iceberg breaking loose as well as several other smaller ones, called pinnacles. The video has attracted the interest and amazement of both the general public and scientists because it demonstrates in real time how quickly an iceberg may split from a glacier. Number 1. Leonar iceberg. In July 2018, a large iceberg that drifted and parked itself directly outside the town of a small settlement in Greenland caused chaos. The small town of Leonar is no stranger to icebergs, as they frequently appear on the horizon. But this iceberg was the biggest and closest one that the community had ever seen. As it loomed over the town, 33 residents were forced to flee, and the rest of the community held its breath as local authorities warned them that they might need to seek higher ground. As it loomed in the distance, the enormous berg, which was 656 feet wide and stood 328 feet above the ocean, was both gorgeous and bizarre. But it was also terrifying. The 170 inhabitants of the village had grounds to worry that the iceberg would calve at any moment, because it appeared to have numerous huge fissures and holes. Huge chunks of falling ice would have created tsunami-like waves to wash over the small settlement. If the iceberg had begun to break out, rescue helicopters were put on alert in case a quick evacuation was required, and residents were told to stay away from the shoreline. Thankfully, the iceberg only lingered briefly. The Leonar iceberg has moved up to the top rank on this list of the top 10 biggest iceberg separations, because this enormous iceberg demonstrates the very real and immediate danger that a drifting iceberg can bring.